The share of small landlords in the city of Seattle dropped by 14% in the last 4 years. And small landlords are saying that the government regulations are to blame. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today. Once again, I am in the city of Seattle and talking about all of the ridiculous government regulations up there. So, the article I have today is talking about how 14% of the small landlords have just basically left the market. And guess what? They're being replaced by big landlords. The big corporate landlords that everyone hates so much, they're the ones who are buying more properties in the market, while the small landlords who can't deal with all the regulations don't have the huge teams who are able to navigate the system. They're like, you know what, I'm done, I'm selling, I'm getting the heck out of here. And the problem with that is that small landlords are the ones who provide the grand majority of the affordable housing, the housing that people can actually afford to live in a place like Seattle where housing is super expensive. The big guys, they're just in it to make a lot of money, and nothing wrong with that, right? But the small landlords, they're willing to take smaller profits in a lot of cases, and they'll keep tenants in there without raising rents, and they offer a lot of affordable housing, making a place like Seattle actually affordable for more people. But when you see those landlords leaving the market, that tells you something. That tells you that, hey, they're not thinking it's worth it. They believe that it's not worth it. They're getting their butts handed to them. They've had to come out of pocket too much due to all of the regulations, all of the things that make it hard to evict tenants, the rules that say how much you can raise your rent, all of the hoops you got to jump through. It's ridiculous, like I don't blame them. Okay, I tell you all the time that if you're a small landlord, there's better places. There's counties next door where you don't have to jump through all the rules. There's states nearby. There's other states across the country if you need to, but do not invest somewhere where they treat you like garbage, where they treat you like they own your property and not you. Okay. So before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button, leave a comment down below, and let me know what you think. If you were a landlord in Seattle, would you get out of the rental business right now? I mean, honestly, I think that Seattle is a great place. Okay, like I've been there before. It's beautiful, the mountains all around, and it's a really nice looking place. And I think that the politics there are the big problem. Okay, the politics there are pushing more towards socialism, and they're anti property rights, they're anti landlord, and unfortunately that's just not a good place to invest. It's not the kind of place where you want to be a small guy who is trying to get up and bring yourself up. So man, let me get into this article. Okay, this article is coming from mynorthwest.com, and it says Seattle small landlords blame regulations for 14% drop in properties. Let's get into it. Small landlords throughout Seattle let their frustrations fly over a flurry of grievances they are facing during a meeting with a city council committee. Seattle needs to retain the existing housing that we have, and we need to build more. But at the same time, we are losing the affordable small rental, said Marilyn Yim, a property owner in District 6, during Wednesday's Economic Development, Technology, and City Light Committee meeting. The barriers and risks and policy approaches that we have right now are untenable to have and maintain a stable and thriving small rental environment. Yim was also a lead plaintiff in the Pacific Legal Foundation's suit against the city of Seattle for its Fair Chance Housing Ordinance. So yeah, that is unfortunate, but you know what? They are speaking the truth right now. There are so many different policies, there are so many different regulations, and it seems like I read a lot of these articles every month or maybe multiple times a month. Some politician, be it a city council member, be it a state representative, be it the mayor, be it whoever, is trying to come up with a new law or a new rule to make it even harder for landlords to comply. Now, the big landlords, they have a big advantage in that they have property management companies that specialize in just managing properties. They have big teams of people who can comply with all the new rules and regulations. They have attorneys. They've got accountants. They've got everything they need in order to make it so that they can run their businesses. So do the large operators who have hundreds or thousands of units. But the small guys, let's talk about people who own less than 10 units, okay? They might be managing these properties themselves. They might not be in the know about all of the new rules and regulations. They might think, in their mind, right? If you're an older landlord who's been operating for 20, 30 years, right? You might still be operating on the assumption of the way the rules were back in the year 2000, 23 years ago. Well, guess what? So much has changed since then, and you're thinking, oh, well, things are cool. And then one day you go to remove your tenant, and guess what? Things have changed so much that now you're not in compliance with the law, and it's going to cost you tens of thousands of dollars. Wow. I mean, this is why landlords get out of business, okay? This is why landlords don't want to deal with it anymore. When they suddenly find themselves confronting all of the rules and regulations, they're just like, yeah, I just don't want to deal with it. Like, just as an example, I just got a notification from my city where I live right now and invest, Omaha, Nebraska, saying that one of my rentals was going to be inspected. Well, guess what? The rental inspection ordinance in the city of Omaha didn't even exist 10 years ago. So this is a brand new thing. And fortunately, they had my current address on file, because if they did not, it would have gone to my previous address. It means I would have never got the notification, and they would have gone out there to inspect the property, and nobody would have been there. Okay. So then they would have said, oh, well, this guy's not in compliance. Meanwhile, I've been doing everything correct. My properties are in good shape. I'm following all the laws. My tenants are happy. There's never been a problem. But they put this new ordinance in place, and it punishes small landlords such as myself. And guess what? Now I'm seen as a dirtbag criminal, or a bad landlord, or a slumlord, as they call them, right? And that's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. So, like I said, I sympathize with the small landlords up in the Pacific Northwest, specifically in Seattle, because yeah, they don't make it worth it to be a landlord in so many situations. The share of small rentals dropped by 14% over the last 4 years, losing more than 4,000 units citywide. Tangentially, I don't know that word. The percentage of large rental properties, property owners owning between 21 and 200 units, grew by 12% over the same time span. There really has not been any formal effort or any attempt to assess what's the impact of this drop, Yim said. A small housing provider is defined as a landlord that owns and operates no more than 20 units. Local stakeholder groups represented at the meeting include Seattle Grassroots Landlords, the Rental Housing Association, and Housing Connector. Yeah, so the number of small landlords in the city declined by 14%. The number of big landlords increased by 12%. Now, an optimistic view of that would be, well, the small landlords became big landlords because they bought more units. But I don't think that's what's happening. I think that a lot of these small landlords are just getting out of the rental business. Either if you owned a single family rental, just as an example, just like a single family home, how hard is it for you to just say, well, I'm going to sell that property to an owner occupant? And guess what? That rental unit disappears. And there's thousands, tens of thousands of landlords just like that. Now, they might not consider themselves landlords in a traditional manner, right? But they are. And they're the ones who are providing a lot of rental housing that people need. And they're just gone. They've decided to get out. The group has met 6 times since last August, according to Capitol Hill Seattle blog. Yim cited a lack of analysis, information, support, outreach, and public safety as reasons for the growing frustrations among the group. In addition, the collection of small housing providers believes the city government is making it increasingly complex and contradictory for them to operate as landlords, with a rapid increase of tenant ordinances and laws from both the city and the state over the last 6 years. A now former small housing provider at the meeting claimed small landlords were selling to owner occupants who are high earners that can afford to buy. In turn, this reduces rental stock, something the coalition believes the city desperately needs. And they do need rental stock. I mean, they need not just rental stock, they need homes for everyone. People who want to rent, people who want to buy, people who just want to visit. They need all of the above. Obviously, Seattle's a very popular place, and that's why it's so expensive. But they are not building enough housing. So rather than punishing the landlords for the fact that, hey, we are making money off of our properties because you won't allow enough housing to be built, maybe you should actually work on getting that additional housing built. And I'm not just talking about people who want to build high rises or whatever, right? People want to live in houses. And if your city's built out to the point where you can't add additional housing inexpensively, then you just have to face the facts that your city is just expensive. Okay? If there's no more room to build, well, guess what? The cheapest and the easiest way to get more housing is to go on the outskirts of town and build more housing out there. That's what everyone in America is doing who has affordable housing. All these other cities whose housing is more affordable, they're allowing themselves to grow. And I know what they'll say, oh, it's sprawl, whatever. The main point is that there is enough housing for people and it's not expensive. That's what we want.